As good as you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
But then I definitely notice, and if you really keep watching it, and then I think it's really helping me in general to be a better person.
So in other words, mean you find that what you learn at least so far, it's also not only just like a theoretical, but it become a practical. You can apply in your daily life. Okay.
And also, the certain part you really related to the meditation.
Sure. Okay.
To me, it's just very hard. Are there any prerequisites of readings or practice before we can study the text?
No, I think but certainly the more you practice, the more you understand the text better. That's for sure, because the text is very clear. It's actually the Abhidharma. That's what the Abhidharma. I try to say that again and again. When you study Abhidharma, it believed to the Abhidharmika is that you are actually study something directly facing to the Dharma, right? It means you're practicing. So it's not a philosophical. Yeah.
I mean, I have not had a chance to read going deeper into the study.
You mean you do not? You do not what? Sorry, I didn't get it.
I mean, I cannot go deeper.
Oh, I see. No, you do go deeper already if you study Abhidharma, I guess. Just a moment. Okay. So just let me see what else.
Hey, Ram, did you see?
But I have to say, actually, even when I teach this text, I do feel challenged because the text is a kind of simple, right? It's just like there's not much description. It does have the description of what the Dharma is about. They don't have the after all description. So the difficulty is that sometimes when you start to teach, there's no book you can follow after, right? You just have to look at this and also have to read so many other things in order to build up a better understanding of the text. Anyway, now today we try to finish the defilements, okay, and then so that we can move on the so-called one of the very important topic too, that's called the conditioning, or you can say the formation with the disjoint mind, which is controversial in many schools. But then even though it's controversial, controversial because other schools, especially the Sautrantika school and the Darshtanika school, against. Of course, certainly in Theravada also, you don't have this at all. However, the next topic, we're going to have a one week off because we have meditation retreat. So and then after that, so the next topic, it will be important because the disconjoint topic is more about this abruptic, mean the gain or not gaining or without gaining. Okay, so it's one of the very important topics. Especially, it has much relation to this attainment, because that gaining or not gaining in Chinese called de fei de, but remember called abruptic. Okay, it's one of the dharma which disconjoint from the mind. Okay. But of course, as I say, when I teach this, as a beginner especially, I try not to use too much of the philosophical argument, because there are so many philosophical arguments argue that whether this is really believe it exists or not exist. Okay, that will be the next topic we're going to talk after this. Now we're still back to these defilements. If you have our past notes, okay. Let's look at the past note first, the defilements. Okay. Do you bring this note, the past note, the classes of the defilements? Anyone don't have the notes here? Okay. Anyway, so we have this from I think we have done this the classes of definements. We have done the factors. There are 9 factors, right? Remember that? No? Okay, maybe if we no, we look at the text first then. Anyone? Do you know where is it? Yeah. Anyway, it's a fixed. Yeah, it's 97. I think it should be earlier than that. Yeah, it should be earlier than that. Yeah. Okay, that's 4.5.27, page 87, right? Okay, I mean that's basically, firstly, there's 9 factors, okay? So what are these 9 factors? If you look at the books 4.5.27, so in this system, in Saraswatiwada's system, the factors, some newjana in or the, anyway, firstly, we say there are 9 kind of these factors, okay? So the last is the ones, or the hostility is the second one, and the conceit, ignorance, will, irrational adherence, doubt, jealousy, and avarice. Okay, they are all together 9. Okay, but of course among these so-called conceit. So in this school usually we talk about 7 types of conceit, right? Man, 有7种慢. Okay, there are 7 types of conceit. So I don't have to mention those that you can look at the list later on. So, and then among these the what we call the view, right? The view factors. So there are 3 kind of views included there. So that means that the view on the believing there's the view on sometimes we translate the view on the body, and then the view on these the ends. That means there's 2 ends, and then the view that the wrong view, basically the wrong view. Okay, but then with that also with regard to the grasping, right? There are 2 kind of grasping, or what we call this irrational adherence or grasping. So one is the grasping to the view, and then one is grasping to the observance. Okay. So and generally that's how the first we know that there's called the 9 factors. Why is called factors? Generally, why is called factors? Anyone? Why it is called factors? Jie, why? What does the factors mean? Yeah, because I mean that's very clear. Even though you don't know the answer, you have to try to think that. In Buddhism, the samsara, this reincarnation, or the circle of reincarnation, the circle of reborn, it's believed to be actually one of the problem in for those who are not enlightened. So that's why when you say that it is called the jie, the factors in Chinese called jie, or some yojana, it means you're biting. So and it's because you always, if you don't cut that off, they are the one that actually bite you to the reincarnation. That means the samsara. Okay. moment. Just so. Just a moment. So where is it now? Okay, just for additional information, beside this text, explanation, the text called this Abhidharmavatara, means the entrance to the Abhidharma. So the Mahavibhasa, what is Mahavibhasa? I want to text you again, otherwise people always get confused. There were several texts we also mentioned again and again and again. Mahavibhasa, anyone, what do you know what it is? Huh? 大毗婆沙論, okay, in Chinese. Anyone know what it is, this text? Or anyone you still don't remember what it is? Okay, Maha, the word means great, big, grand, okay? Vibhasa actually literally means the explanation. So sometimes we translate as great exposition or exposition or... So, I mean, explaining the great explanation, or you could say as encyclopedia, or kind of encyclopedia of the school called Sarasvati school. Okay, and then according to the Mahavibhasa, which is the, for research purpose, usually what the Mahavibhasa opinion, sometimes you can regard it as the become orthodox school already. Okay, but this is it's not your concern so much. But generally. The Abhidharma of the Sarasvati have to base on the 7 texts. I'm sure that I gave you the list already. You don't have to remember all these names, but there's the text called like Sankiti, Pariyana, and then Dharmaskanda, Abhidharma text. There's all the seven texts. For scholarly study, among the 7 texts, you have the earlier you have the belief, the so-called the earlier formation of the text and later formation of the text. But the Mahavibhasa is the representative. Basically, for scholarly study, you would say it's a later. But however, for Sarasvati Mahavibhasa is believed to be the standard idea of the Sarasvati school. Okay, because remember, even Vasubandhu during the 4th century, he learned the Mahavibhasa in so-called the Pushpa, in actually mean nowadays in Pakistan. Then he moved to nowadays called the Kashmir, right, and to study this Abhidharma, so Mahavibhasa. Okay, and in other words, meaning those days, if you say that you study, or even like a Vasubandhu, Siqin, or in Chinese. So he went to this Kashmir to study Mahavibhasa. It means that he wants to finish a study, or that means he's really know about what is the Sarasvati Abhidharma. So just have this kind of idea first, okay? Even though the scholarly have different opinions for scholarly studies, that will say, but nobody can deny this is become the main text to represent the so-called orthodox Abhidharma, okay? So that's, even though, some like to challenge with that, but then that's a whole traditional idea, okay? All right, so in the Mahavibhasa, and they will also say that they give the 3 meanings of these so-called factors, okay? And then the first meanings is said to be derived from the sutra. Okay, it means that because the word 结, because it's derived from the sutra, say 结 means is the binding, right? Okay, you know that means it's binding with the, you binding yourself to the basically to the defilements. So that means that you need to cut off this binding. Okay, and the second meaning means the factors for the sphere essential unite the being with the dukkha in that sphere. In other words, mean because it is binding with or it connected to the dukkha, the suffering. So because if you have these 9 factors, the suffering appears. Okay. So, and that's the second, okay. And the third meanings are, so basically the third meaning, because those who are the Aryan, who are the really noble persons, who have a good attainment in their practice, so they feel disgusted, even they can be born in a good place, okay. Even they can be born like heavens. They feel disgusted even if they can born to the heavens, because with the basically mean because they will find that you know, you see that if you don't completely cut off these kind of the factors for these noble persons, even though they have this still have some of the factors with them, and they were born in the heavens, but they still feel don't like it, disgusted, because just like the food, the same is just like people having the food. But they know the food with poison. But of course, maybe nowadays the modern language, like now you're eating the food, but you know there are so many, what do you call it? No, what is that?
Chemicals.
Yeah, chemicals, like many chemicals there. So you still discuss with the food, and you're eating it, but then you still have the chemicals. So in other words, mean the factors according to the Mahavibhasa, in other words, can be understood because it's binding with the problem. That means the factors, what we like the 9 factors. And the second is mean it's what is it called? Connected to the dukkha, right? And the third one is because even though you might be born in a good place, you know, and with a practice, but as far as the factors there, I mean these factors is just like a good food with the poisons thing.
So how do they practice? So for example, Aryans are born in heaven. So how do they practice in heaven? Is there a practice or something?
No, I mean normally according to the Buddhism belief that if you are in heaven, you don't want to practice that seriously.
But then they know that they're not liberated yet. So how do they work?
Unless you are the really different type of persons. But in general, the people in the heavens, they are not really fond of practicing because their condition, they are so nice, so they will not really. not that they don't need to practice. They're
going to pass away eventually, right?
No. It's just the whole environment gives a very different perspective. Well, there's some people say that, for example, like in America, say that now you compare that if you were born in a different place, like in India, but that if you have that lucky, have the luxury time, and have good marriage enough, that you study these teachings, right? And definitely you want to put more effort to practice, because when you go out in your life, you always see the people death. There's no medical, there's no this, then no that. And then they feel that actually the life is much more imminent to them, that they really need to be out of the samsara, right? But I think, I cannot speak for American, because for me, it is true when you come to America, so your life is very luxurious compared to them. Even though people are still complaining in America, of course. But this is a different thing. But if you want to get anything, you get it. Maybe you don't get it because you don't have enough money, but you still, you have much more freedom to get what you want. So relatively. And then also the people actually, their worry is not about because you don't have anything that you would die. They definitely worry more subtle thing already. And you could say that in this, actually just a few days ago, we were talking because I was teaching in Boston, and then somebody come to see me, and then that guy was 40-some years old, and he had depression, and he had problem, and then he wanted to always commit a suicide, And his reason to commit suicide doesn't mean anything if it's in Asia. I mean, I don't want to say Asia, that like in certain countries, so-called what we call the poor country. So his reason of committing suicide is because he finds there's no friends. and then nobody understand him, and because he have a little disease, and then he doesn't have friends. I mean, those certainly is, if the people who live in one other country, I don't think that will occur to them in the
They're
mind.
too busy trying to eat and live, survive.
Yeah.
You're saying that people in America, compared to poor countries, it's just because life is, you're hiding a lot, you don't have to struggle so much to survive. So it's easier in some ways to just be complacent as compared to poor countries that peace, hunger, this constant survival, violence, this constant.
No, say that, but then of course this belief also in Buddhism that people who were born in the heavens, so they really are very smart, right? But then they can ask very smart questions, but they don't necessarily have to do it down to earth to do it. And something lacking there, it's very hard to say. The lacking is because they always want to have enjoyment. So.
But remember the Buddhist suttas where Sariputta goes and one of the Brahmins, he takes them up to the Brahma world, and Buddha comes back and says, "You could have done better."
No, that's another story. That story means he went to consult. He went to see a person who was about to pass away. No, that's another. I want to say that basically, it's a different kind of thing that even the heavenly beings, they know the factors, they know the Dharma maybe much better, or they can be studied something much more. You could say they are much smarter and understanding thing, but they don't necessarily really realizing how the pressing problem for them that they have to reincarnate again. They don't mind. They just want to have a comfort life. That's what the Deva being is about. I'm saying that, So, but if you live in like an Indian, like that country, so with the same kind of concept, you're always facing this kind of weather so hot, and then some so cold, some this and that, You definitely, your determination of out of the reincarnation is much stronger.
Because Buddha said we're the best place to awaken, right? Being a human being in this room is the best place for us to awaken.
Yeah, but I'm comparing even in the best place now. Look at it during the Buddha's time and now, it changed already. And that's actually, if you look at sometime why the Buddhism also included earth, people in the earth, is also as a kind of deva, it's kind of the heavenly being. Yeah, it is. Sometimes you talk about that way. Anyway, so that's first. Anyway, we understand there's a 9 type of these factors, and then we come to this. There are 7 proclivity anusaya, which is the main one of the very important topic in Saravastivada, right? And there are 7 type of this proclivity. But these 7 type of proclivity can be expanded to the 10 types of proclivity. Anyone remember this?
We have the notes here.
Not the notes. I think I have. If you have this draft, maybe it's easier. The table, right? Yeah, the table. That's true. So the proclivity in Chinese is certainly called the 水面. Okay, yeah. There are 8 types, and then it becomes this. Why it is called proclivity? In the word called anusaya. Anyone? Why it is called anusaya? Why it is called anusaya? 水面 in Chinese.
Because it's hidden, like dormant. Is that the way?
That's also one of the reasons. Yeah.
As you said last time. I don't know.
Yeah. It is hidden because it's always as the very basics under our consciousness. The fundamental hidden there. And any other reasons? Okay, the other reason is called anusaya because it's always, anu is, you can understand as very subtle, very 细腻, it's very subtle. And subtly connected, it's always subtly connected to our mind and matters. Okay, that's why it is called. Yeah, either the rupa and the mind, mental and 名与色, either the mental or the physical, right? All right, I think that's maybe that's easier to understand to just so far. And then into this, there are 7 in general. We say the 7, but then we also count as a 10. How? There are 10 anusaya. There are 10 procreativity.
Because the view is divided into 4, right? The view is divided into 4.
Yeah, good.
5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You just mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the 4 and doubt. Then we have, so it's 10. Right?
Good. Okay. Anyone understand what it does mean? Which 7? Maybe just better put it first.
Sensual, greed.
Because this is as an anusaya, as a procreativity. In other words, means Sarvastivada take this as almost like the way, as a basis of understanding of the defilements, 就是烦恼的最根本哈。So they take this as the fundamental. What it is the first one?
Sensual greed. Amaraga Nusaya.
Good. Sensual greed. And second one?
Hostility.
And the third one?
Amaraga. Existence. Greed.
The third one is what? No, the third one is which one?
It's Bhavaraga Anusaya, which is greed for existence. Wanting to exist. Greed for existence.
Really? Where do you read it?
On the table here?
84 table. Not the 98 table.
Yeah, the 84, yeah. 84, the 7. It's Bhavaraga Anusaya.
And then the fourth one?
Greed for existence. Conceit. Mana.
And the fifth one?
Avijja. 6 is Ditti Anusaya. And 7 is Vichitta.
Doubt, right.
Doubt. This all sounds good.
But when you talk about this, the 10, that is the 7th procreativity, right? But when you talk about the 10 procreativities, which one have to omit? Yeah, the number 3 over. The greed for existence is I have to omit it. It's okay, because it's still under the greed, the essential greed. And anyway, and then we have add the other 5, right? Other 4 for the view. The view on what? Identity view, which we translate as 身见, okay? Identity view.
And wrong view, eternalism versus annihilation.
Yeah, wrong view. Two end view.
That's externalism.
And then?
Grasping.
Yeah, grasping on view.
And then the wrong grasping of rules and observances.
Wrong grasping on rule. Okay. Okay. So the sensual greed, you greed to any, sensual. And then the second one, hostility, actually means anger, like anger, right? And the third one, the conceit, the manas, the proud, right? Conceit, the proud. And of course, the proud have 7 types, right? Sometimes you can say 3 types in minimal, like you're proud because you are not better than other. So in other words, mean you have the self-inferior, 就自卑, And then the second one, you're proud because you think you're better than other. right? This is called you're proud. So Samman, and then you have you're proud because you think you're equal, right? But then you also have other if you want to add, you have other 4 types, okay? But anyway, generally that's how you understand the proud. And then the ignorance, generally ignorance, it's just ignorance, and doubt. So the doubt and then the ignorance is 1 because of ignorance. And then the view we divided into 5 because it's very important, especially when people, they have to cut off the view first, the 见, okay? So they have to be able to cut off the identity view. I mean the identity view means you think that's who I am, that's how I am, this who, this I. In Chinese usually called 身见, you know, you have identity view on the body. But it's not body here, your identity view on many things. The body here refers to many things. So I think identity view is a good translation, I guess. So you have, you identify this as I. You don't understand actually you are not that what you think you are, basically. So that's identity view, and the second is a wrong view. So it's, in other words, it means a wrong view, like, you know, there's no heavens, there's no hell, there's no bad karma, there's no good karma, like that. Those are wrong view. And the 2 ends view means that you always have the view about the identity view and 2 ends view are always together. You always think that there is either this way or either that way, right? So you think that life is, for example, you think that the life eternally is like that, or you think that there's nothing going on. So that's what we call the 边见. It means either you're thinking about something eternally, or either you're thinking something is called 断见, 常见 or 断见. It means eternally, or something is annihilism. So like people say, oh, when someone attend nirvana, mean nothing happened, gone. It's the kind of annihilism. Or you think that, oh, attend nirvana is also mean you're eternally alive. So it's also a kind of the eternal view, okay? Or people think that they go to heavens, is eternally stay in the heavens, they would not die again. So there is an eternal view like that. So, but people who are become the Sotapanna means or about to become Sotapanna. So, and then definitely this identity view and the wrong ends view, they are 2 together. Okay. So when you cut off this one, it means you cut off the 2 ends view. When you cut off 2 ends view, it means you cut off the identity view. Okay. But certainly that relate to reincarnation, relate to your body too. Now, and then the grasping on the view. It means the 见取见. Generally in Chinese called 见取见. It means that you have a view, but you still grasp on the view. You believe that is true, right? So let's say if I think the nirvana is mean that you will be a nirvana. Say that nirvana means you will stay someplace forever, very nice. So then you, based on this view, you also have developed many. Based on this view, you develop many other views, right? So, and that's a grasping on the view. But based on the wrong view, you have grasping on the view, okay? And then also, based on the wrong view also, certainly, you also, sometimes based on the wrong view, you have grasping on the view. Sometimes based on the wrong grasping on the rule, so you have the grasping on the view, right? Say that, you know, there's a kind of rule saying that, grasping on the rule say, oh, a meditator has to be always, what does a meditation mean? A meditation means that you have to sit there for 7 hours, right? And based on that kind of wrong grasping of the rule, it's rule because they think if I can sit for 7 hours, I will get enlightenment. It's a wrong view. And with that kind of wrong view, then they will develop this kind of like grasping on the view. They will think, so when other people say, oh, you know, my meditation is quite good. Really? So, but I didn't see you sit for 7 hours, right? So that's because based on the grasping of the rule.
So this is all clinging, right?
It is. Clinging. That's why grasping. That's why the grasping. Grasping, clinging is the same word. So and then you think no, it's not possible because you didn't sit for 7 hours. But my master told me you have to sit for 7 hours to get enlightenment or to have a good experience. Or maybe people say, oh, you must have the limita. So by at least sitting for 2 hours, right? But then, but you don't understand the cause and condition. You know, that's what Buddhism call. If you don't understand the cause and condition, and then you think, oh, you have to be sitting for 2 hours to have limita. But then you ask the person, did you sit for 2 hours? No, I didn't. But he didn't ask further. Actually, he didn't sit for 2 hours, but he meditate all the time. Maybe he sit on 1 hour and he stopped for 10 minutes and 1 hour and stop for 10 minutes. That is no. So grasp somebody the rule, that's mean by the rule. And then he will think, no, that's not. I think that's not possible. So you lie. So, and that's mean but of course when the people really have reached that kind of state, they abandon this grasp on the wrong view, the real. Of course then this grasping on the view will be abandoned. And because of this abandon, the wrong view also abandoned. So, right. So the view, that's the reason why, in other words, meaning Buddhism understands somebody, if they have practiced as a Sotapanna, up to become, or before Sotapanna, this view definitely has to be abandoned already. Jin. So the wrong view, basically the wrong view and identity view, in other words, you could say that all these 5 views will be abandoned. Okay. The doubt certainly is one of the things that also will be abandoned too. Okay, but then this is a very interesting thing, is to talk about the doubt. When the people don't, the Sarvastivada have a very interesting system. That's why if you look at the chart, right, it will tell you actually when a person, for the first time when they practice, they abandon actually the 36 type, if they might be able to abandon, say like the 36 types of the view. But the doubt still going on, okay? But some of the view also still going on, but only the strong one still being cast away. Okay. In other words, this explain one thing. Explain that why you say somebody when they have reached to a certain stage of practice, they cast away the doubt. However, still there's a more subtle kind of doubt still need to be, cast away in the future. Okay. So the word means cast away the doubt. Sarvastivada school make it very clear to say that's the important view of the doubt you cast away. But then there's a subtle kind of doubt you still have to be cast away.
So you cast away to replace with faith, with confidence.
Of course. You always, when you cast away the defilements, the more you cast away defilement, the more you see the Dharma, right? Then yes.
Can't doubt be considered a view, though? If you doubt something, isn't that already a type of view? If you say, I doubt that nirvana exists, isn't that a view?
It is. That's why, no, doubt can be understood as a view, you can understand as ignorance too, right? But I mean, I think here the view have the very specific meanings, the view on those things. The doubt has a much more bigger sense to doubt of anything. So let's say you can be doubt of from the earlier time, because you cast away the view, so your doubt have been cast away, right? Like you doubt about the Buddha and Dharma and Sangha. And but then you still have a little doubt for something else. That according to Sarvastivada school, let's say you cast away this doubt, you put the will away, but you still be doubt that how to reach the Sotapanna, the second fruit, how to reach the third fruit, how to reach the fourth fruit, right? So, but of course that's always like the Buddha doesn't have the doubt. And the ignorance is same. Ignorance, many relate to the ignorance you have ignorance about what is the dependent arising, right? So in other words, this is the doubt of everything, but the ignorance mostly relate to the dependent origination. So, okay, right. All right. I guess. So remember this actually also according to this just like review, right? So in Sarvastivada school, so it's believed that there are 32 types of the doubt, 32 types of these kind of 32 types of the defilements can be cast away. Okay, how do you count the 32? By practice, and then through this what we call this vision. Through your practice of vision, and then you can abandon all these 32 types of. Okay, maybe best to ask this. They are all together in this kind of the sensual world. So how many defilements, how many proclivities are there?
98 altogether.
Essential work, not the only first.
No, in essential world, how many? Okay, altogether is 98, right?
Yeah.
98, but I mean, For the one that who in this sensual world, how many that you can, in the sensual world, how many types of the proclivity are there? Can be abandonable. Look at the chart.
What, for Sotapanna, or you talking about
Yeah. Oh,
for the Sotapanna?
always you talk about Sotapanna first.
So that's taking away. And down. That's 40. That's 30 to 37.
Okay, maybe count it this way. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, right? 10 kind of proclivities there. Remember? Which I don't want to write now. So, and then we have divided into 5 groups, right? The first group is what? Second group is what? Third group is what? Fourth is what? And the last is what? So first group is that's the dukkha, right? The suffering. The second is the origin of the suffering, right? And the third one is the ceasing of the suffering. And then the fourth is a path. And then the last one is called cultivation. So in other words, I want to say that when someone, the first one is the sensual, what do you call the sensual proclivity. I mean the attached, what do you translate, sensual greed. So you have, it has to be abandonable. You know, it has. But anyway, we're going to talk this in the future. It's abandonable by this, by this, by this, by this, by this. So there are 5, right? Right. So in other words, mean if you want to really abandon this sensual pleasure, so you must be able to realize must be able to practice to realize the truth for suffering. So then that the first time you abandon this the sensual pleasure, and then must be not, that is not enough. So that is one of the abandoning. And the second, you need to abandon the origin of the truth. I mean the truth of the origination, to abandon the sensual pleasure, like that. So the second one is the same way. So the hostility, anger, it has to be it's abandonable by these 5, right? The cultivation is another one, difficult one. But then anyway, we know this is Four Noble Truths. It means that you only can take this as an object, you know, and then through this the suffering, the truth of suffering, you can abandon the suffering, the proclivity. Now the third one is the same. The third one, what is the third one? The conceit, right? And the fourth one is the same, ignorance, the same. Okay. All right. But the only difference actually is the identity view. Identity view is just only one. Only one. So then there's a lot of explanation why. But the one that you identity yourself, you think that this is I, you can actually abandon this, is able to abandon this kind of defilements only through the truth of the suffering. Okay.
So does that mean if the truth of suffering is realized, you don't have to, everything else is cut off, you don't have to go through the other steps to abandon it anymore?
No, maybe to say this is much easier. It means that when you can abandon this the identity view, you can abandon identity view because only when you realize the truth of suffering. Okay.
Right. So actually, I mean, the things that the practitioner works on is the vertical column, not the proclivities. And the proclivities get cut off when the truths become realized.
No, I think I want to say that when you look at the Four Noble Truths, when you practice up to the Four Noble Truths, like yesterday we talked about the path, right? When you come to the Four Noble Truths, and then during the 16, the last one during the 16 moment, especially, but depends. Some people can be earlier, but let's say we say idealistically. So during the last moment, 16 moments, and then you go through this Four Noble Truths, right? And actually, when you go to a Four Noble Truths, when you definitely really become strong in the Noble Truth, so those defilements being cut off.
Right.
So, but I think he want to only explain that one other reason is that when you say this is here only in the dukkha, because the origin of the suffering, the cause of the suffering does not conduce to abandoning the identity view. Actually, by understanding the suffering itself, this kind of, or maybe easier to say this, when you realize that there's a suffering, right? So the identity view would not arise.
It falls away.
It falls away. So, but those don't have to do with the identity view. Like I know the cause is my greed, so it don't. But when I think that's what the main thing is, that like the other, let's say the sensual pleasure. So I'm accruing to something I like, something I really attach to. But when you understand the suffering, that also falls away, right? When you understand the cause of the cause of the suffering, say, oh, it's my greed, that also will put away this sensual pleasure. Or because when you see how this greed, the greed cease, also it can be ceased. But the identity view is not something you see the cause, because it's a will that you attach to I, right? But that can be just only falls away just by the dukkha, understand the dukkha. That's what they want to say. Okay. And then the wrong view. So the wrong view have four. Remember, have four. The reason is to have four because in cultivation the wrong view should not be there. Okay. In other words, the wrong view should be cut off even by this Four Noble Truths. You don't have to go to the cultivation path. Okay. This is all called the vision, right? The path of vision. But the path of cultivation, you don't have to need to wait for the path of the cultivation. Or in other words, you could say, generally understand that you don't have to wait for the cut it off until the second fruit. But in the first fruit, you have been able to do so already. Okay, can be cut off. And then the same thing as 7, because the 7 one is the ends will, right? The ends will is, as just mentioned, is same as the wheels on the number 5, the identity wheel. Okay. And then the grasping of the wheels as X1 is the same as the number 6, right? Also have 4. Now, but the only interesting is the number 9 also. The wrong grasping of the rules and observance, 戒禁取见 in Chinese. Okay, so you have 2. One is that while you realize the dukkha, it will be cut off. And also you have to wait also while you see the path, okay? Yes. The path and the dukkha, okay?
I don't get it.
No, because if you know what is the right path, then of course you're observing the wrong view is cast away.
But so suppose you grasp the origin of suffering as a truth, then there's a blank. That means it's fallen away. But then it re-arises? I don't get this.
No. Okay, that's maybe, I think you didn't get this because don't forget in Sarasvati school, they done, the Four Noble Truths is not just, here we talk this Four Noble Truths, we are not talking the Four Noble Truths of the first time when people have understand the Four Noble Truths. Say that, okay, let me see. Let me think how about the first Noble Truth. Okay, say that if I practice meditation and then I see that why I don't like a person, okay? I don't like that person. And then I see that, basically, not why. I see that I don't like the person and then I realize that that is actually is due to my ego, in other words, my conceit, okay? My conceit, I think I'm better than the person. And whatever reason. So, and then I arise this kind of idea, right? So on the course of practice, and I realized that, so actually this is it's wrong, basically, because that person changed all the time. The one that my mind was still holding that person should be this way, though he's a bad person, he's not good to me. So that idea, for example. So that I didn't see the impermanence, right? But then I'm able to see that it's impermanence because that person changed all the time. Even me change all. Sometimes I think he's okay, sometimes I think he's horrible, sometimes it's fine, sometimes it's so good. So, and I see this impermanence. With that kind of impermanence realization, and I reach to the truth of impermanence, right? But that is dukkha, is suffering, right? All right. Now, just say this example first. When I realize that, so say the number 9, I don't like the person is because I'm thinking that there is a certain thing he don't follow, which I think is say that a certain thing he don't follow, that person doesn't follow. Like I asked him to offer the incense in the Buddha whenever he come to temple, but he didn't want to do that. He doesn't like it. But I can hold on that idea, right? A view, right? So when I realize that person actually is impermanence, and I also impermanence, and I reach to the truth of the impermanence, basically mean I understand the suffering, right? Because of impermanent suffering. So this is, I just discuss that this wrong view towards that person, right? Now, that can be also the identity view. Look at the earlier one. So because of just by impermanence, I can do that. Or because through this emptiness, mean that is no essence, so-called the person I think, right? Or I can be through this, what else, the suffering, because I can see that person suffer and I can see myself suffering, okay? Or I can through this is because I cannot control that person, right? So I abandon this. Now I'm talking about number 9. So this also abandoned, this also abandoned, but then number 9 also abandoned, okay? But then also, why the path? Now, and then I know the cause is because I still believe that person, I still have a clinging to that person's and hope that person has to be this way, but it won't work the way that I have a wrong idea already. That means what's wrong idea? I want the person to offer the incense every time I come to temple, right? It's a wrong observance. But this had nothing to do with this actually. It has nothing to do with the observant rule. I see the grieving. So the grieving I abandon is to do with my ignorance or somehow, right? That's why it doesn't abandon, that's why it is end here. And then also I can see is that my problem solved, right? That problem solved here is also, according to the Sarvastivada, it's, I check this again. I check this and I find that there's solved the problem, but it also had nothing to do with I abandoned the view on the wrong rule. Okay, actually I abandoned the on persons myself basically observe the wrong rule that I want the person had to put the incense every time come in is when I know what is the right path. So that's what, well, to Sarvastivada school, this is the Four Noble Truths is different from Pali. I'm not saying the Pali is only believe that, but generally the Pali believe that you practice as dependent arising and then you understand what is Four Noble Truths. But the Sarvastivada, because last week you didn't come here. So the Sarvastivada school, like we talk about the foundational Buddhism text that we did mention, is that after you practice the dependent arising, you understand what is a Four Noble Truths, but you still have to work on each of the Noble Truths, have the 4. And then from the 4, you have to be able to, anytime you relate to any Noble Truth, you can go that Noble Truth. So, okay. So, anyway, we'll have more discussion this. We just want to say, firstly, most of the truth belief can be abandoned by the 4 cause. But in terms of views, there are 2 of them are just only, you realize the truth for suffering is enough. And then one of them, you need to realize 2 in order to understand to be completely understand all the defilements or to abandon the defilement. So that's why, okay. And then the rest of the views, they have to go to still the 4 Noble Truths. But you don't have to up to practice to cultivation, because cultivation is after the Four Noble Truths. Cultivation refer to the people who are in the second fruit already. So, okay, not in the first fruit, okay. Okay, the last one is the same, so you have the 5, I think, the 4, yeah. Yeah, the top, you have the 4. So anyway, altogether, so that's why altogether is saying that if someone actually did practice, believe that if somebody who will practice becomes a Sotapanna, they have to be abandoned altogether is 32 kites. Okay. All right. Actually, totally mean 36 types. But somebody who able to cut off the 32 types generally means that for sure, if they up to the 32 type, mean if the person is about to become Sotapanna. But when the person becomes the Sotapanna, that means the Chuguo, okay, Sotapanna, and then he has to be able to abandon this 36 type of the procreativity. Okay, this is the Abhidharma system way. Of course, in general, you could say no, he abandoned, or he abandoned the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one, the fifth one, the sixth one, the seventh, the eighth, the ninth, the 10th. Okay. But and then also especially this the real one they completely abandoned. This is how we learn. Last time we discussed that already. Like we say that somebody who's become a Sotapanna, something that no more appear, like the identity view, right? And then what we call the doubt, and then also no, and then the number 10, the number 9, the wrong grasping of the rules, but still belong to the will. But Abhidharma system like Saravastiva, they make it more subtle. So I mean, the reason I say that again, but it's very hard for you to understand. The reason is why, because the sutta always say that when you become a Sotapanna, you cast away the doubt, for example. But do you mean that they don't have doubt anymore? So that's why some people who do not study Buddhism better, and they feel this confusion. So, you become a Sotapanna, you cast away the doubt. It means you cast away the ignorance. So then, and what about the Arahant? The Arahant also casts away the doubt, it casts away the ignorance. So you can have a conclusion that actually, according to the Buddha teachings, mean if you cast away the doubt and the ignorance, it means you are Arahant. There's no such a thing called Sotapanna. Okay? All right? You understand? But Sarvastivada making this system to say, yeah, you cast away this thing, but then there are still other things you need to cast away. I mean, the one that you have to go to a cultivation path here. When you're in the cultivation path also, then you still have to cast away through the Four Noble Truths, but then the same thing you need to go again, but you cast away through when you have a higher jhana. Okay, that's why the next two one is a jhana called this here you say the form sphere, and then have the formless sphere. Okay. So in other words, you could say, according to the Sarvastivada understandings, someone who can, when someone is in the Arahant, he has to be able to cast away 98 types of procreativity, not just 36 types of procreativity. Okay?
So which means if you reborn the form realm, and you still have so many proclivities, you need to cut off too, if you have a chance to.
No, it's not about reborn there. It means that it is all about the mental. I mean, your meditation power have come to you have to cover this defilement through this that kind of meditation state in order to cut that defilement off. It's not you born over there. No.
So that's different definitions. Different school, right? Only this school defined this way.
But actually, it's very interesting. Only this school, I would say that only this school have one of the significant way to talk about which type of defilement been abandoned and when it's been abandoned. So, but the other school would not talk about that when it's abandoned. He only said when you become that stage and then those defilement is not there. But this school have a very different system. Very subtle system to say only when you practice that this defilement will be abandoned.
In a different realm.
Yeah. So, but I have to say, as I say, because this system for the practical is really lost already. And because it's lost, for the really practice, it lost its. I struggle a long time also to understand what they're trying to say sometimes. And And also, even the Four Noble Truths way of practice in the system is very subtle also, very, very subtle. And then I also struggle very long time to understand. This is not just reading, because there's no clear reading there. You have to read many in order to understand and get a lot of information from different people writing too. We are actually here, I don't like to call this as like a class, I like to call it a discussion, because something I'm not 100% sure. But I have to say, not many people, I'm not boasting, can teach this. They can give you a lot of this number. But I'm interested in practice, basically. So they can teach this and how actually can put it apply to the Four Noble Truths, and how they can really check it that they can abandon this thing on how it affects. Well, we will have more understanding later, because this is firstly when you understand the factors. First, you have to understand one of the big topics for Sarvastivada is about these defilements, 就是烦恼. And then the Sarvastivada make it very clear whether it's true. I won't say true. Whether it's good or not. I won't say good or not. Whether that is the only answer or not, I'm not going to tell you this. But this I cannot say for sure. But Sarvastivada recognized that already in the sutta. There are so many factors, so many烦恼, so many defilements mentioned, right? But he has organized all these type of these defilements, and he also telling you this kind of defilements. Of course, based on the sutta, also based on certain other reasons, they will tell this defilement, that defilement, this defilement, that defilement, they are different. And then not only that, when you finish study this, you have to understand how all these defilements, they are as a whole, right? Because we are clear that on all Buddhist texts understand when you practice, you have to be able to understand the defilements first. And the second, you have to be able to abandon the defilements, right? So, but among these first must have the basic idea. Among these is a whole chapter of it in Abhidharmavatara, 就俱舍论. So that's called the 这个是不是叫烦恼品啊？睡眠品，对 ，yeah. The anusaya, the proclivity, is the one of the chapter. So because the Sarvastivada find this as the most fundamental, fundamental defilements that bind us to be reborn again, or having the as a root of all the defilements. Okay.
Is it easy to fall into traps? Identify your own interpretation of the level that you're attaining?
I sometimes find what may be easier to say this. I sometimes find very useful. For example, if you know this kind of list, right? Say that if you meditate, if you're able to meditate anytime, you just sit, and then you're able to look at the truth of suffering. Okay, it's very clear when the time that you understand, due to the four reasons, due to the four akara. Based on the four akara, I mean based on the four actions. Say one of the actions mean impermanence. So if I able to just sit, say when I say sit mean like meditate. Okay, when you're able to just meditate and then you just understand the impermanence, right? You see the impermanence, either because of physical or either because of mind, either your mind formation. Remember this mind formation. For example, mind formation means you have these defilements, and then they drops, and the other defilements comes up, and then a good one comes up and then drops. Those are the formation, right? We learn already what is formation. Or because either through this, say our consciousness, my quality of consciousness change. This consciousness, that consciousness, this consciousness, that every moment my consciousness change. So let's say if you maybe now in the class now, if you're able to meditate, you're just in the class and then you're thinking, I have this doubt now, and then the doubt drops. I have this faith now, and then the faith drops, and then I have this anger now because I don't like what he said, and then it drops, and then I have this what do you call, say this okay, and I have another view now. I think this is what, and then the views drop, and all this come and go, right? If you're able to meditate on that means your awareness is so strong, and you're aware of that. And then you are not only seeing this, what comes arising, what dropping, what arising, what dropping. But you will see the whole thing is changing, right? Incessantly changing. Your mind never be like, oh, I believe in you, and then all the time believe in you. No, you have doubt, you have this, you have that, you have anger, you have what, and it goes all the time, you know. So now, with that, that's what we call this satipatthana. So it's very hard to translate. The foundation of mindfulness. It actually means you're observing the Dhamma, right? You're observing the Dhamma. But the Dhamma also changing all the time, right? So you're observing the Dhamma is changing all the time. That time when you understand the Dhamma changing all the time by observing it, and then you also realize this is suffering. Usually people only know this impermanence only. But according to Sarvastivada, that's not enough. You must be, actually not only Sarvastivada, it's very interesting. Even Yogacara school say the same thing. I double checked that already. So, so-called Mahayana Yogacara school, okay? And then they say the same thing. That means that because you realize that you find it is impermanence, and then you understand the suffering, the truth of suffering, right? When the moment you are in the suffering, you feel not like, oh, wonderful. No. You just feel like you have become smaller, kind of like, okay? Usually when you realize the truth of suffering, you become humble also, smaller. Now, why you become smaller? Because that time, the moment you realize the truth of suffering, you are, only problem is that your samadhi is not strong. So, okay, forget about that. I forgot, I shouldn't say that word first. Maybe best to say that when the moment you realize the suffering, that suffering, your manas, your conceit will drop. Okay? That's why you feel you're small. And then you don't feel craving. You don't want to crave for anything. That's because you are in the truth of suffering. Okay? And then also the same thing, at the moment at least, if it can last it long, it's different. That's why the last it long is what we're going to talk in the future. You have to how to do it. Shift it again and again and again and last it long, so that it almost like you can cut it off. Okay, but at least the moment you are in suffering, and then also the wrong view about the rules is also wrong. The God thought, like I want that person have to do the way I want to. That kind of the defilements, proclivity, so-called the wrongly observing the rules and that we're gone. Okay. So the 10 thing, what if you realize the suffering, the 10 thing will go. All right. But it's interesting if you're very good, if you now next moment when you meditate, because that's I'm talking about. Remember last week we mentioned that if you can shift your mind into immediately to, you must have experienced Four Noble Truths first. I'm saying, so you know what is the two impermanence. You can see the truth of suffering. Through this, what we call this no essence, we call emptiness. You can go to understand the truth of the suffering, or through this, what we call this dukkha, suffering again. You understand the truth of suffering. Okay, and through this, the next one is what? Through this anatta means no, you cannot control it. You can understand the truth of suffering. But and whatever which akara you use, or whatever which action. Maybe call action or object of action you use, you apply. If you use that for, and you can still realize the truth of suffering, this kind of defilement definitely will not arise. Okay. All right. That's this. But it's interesting when you can move to the second. That means that to the other four, either one of them, one of the akara or one of the objects of action, you can, let's say, because of the cause of its craving, you understand the cause, okay, or understand the accumulation of it. Someday you understand as accumulation, and certain defilement will be dropped, but you don't find that this, what we call the wrong precepts, will be there. It doesn't drop. I won't say it doesn't drop, mean it would not there. You can drop the other thing, but it's not the wrong precept. But it's interesting when the only thing, the same thing, when you know that's the only path. There's no any other way. That's the only way. Of course, that time, your wrong idea of what it should be, then that is to be dropped, right? That's what I want to say. Okay. I think so far, it's useful at the moment is that whenever you can reach the Four Noble Truths, you can check it that in each of the Noble Truths, when you're there, some of the defilements can be, okay, you don't say abandonable, but abandon. You can be abandoning, or you can suppress it. Basically, maybe best to say, you can suppress it. It will not arise. Okay. So that's the reason why in the Sarvastivada in the future discussion, it will be like, even though you have experience of Four Noble Truths, ultimately the truth of suffering is the most powerful one. Because especially for the person who are from the ordinary person. So if the truth of suffering is always sustained, I mean, ultimately, if you don't know which one you have to go more, the truth of suffering is the one that you have to use the most. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Take a break, and then we have to finish the other defilements. Maybe I think maybe. So first of all, remember last time I think, and let me see. Just now I saw it, but I don't know where is it now. Yeah, it's 4.5.30. Okay, there. So I need to mention that there's three causes. There are three causes for the arising of defilements. So we have to have the idea, how these defilements arise because of three causes. One, owing to the proclivity not having been abandoned. We know that, okay? So the second is owing to the improper mental application. Ayoniso manasikaram, 不如理作意, okay?
So I'm sorry, where are we? 4.5?
4.5.30. 30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Page 94, okay.
Okay. So that's three causes, right? One is that the mental, the proclivity is not still there, basically. It's not been abandoned. The second is improper mental application. And third one is owing to the object, which according with the defilements, coming into one's range of experience, okay? So in other words, mean the Chinese called 境界现前故, okay? So when that say that if you have the anger object with you, and you take the object, and then the defilement will arise, So after we understand this, and then we have to move to the third kind of defilements. It's called the klesa, right? In Chinese, called 烦恼. So the 烦恼is exactly the same in Sarvastivada school. The list of the 烦恼 or the understanding of the 烦恼 exactly the same as Sarvastivada, what we call the anusaya, the proclivity. Okay, so we don't have to talk about that too much now. So what about the number 4? The number 4 is called the so-called secondary defilements. Okay, why they are called the secondary defilements? They are also secondary defilement, basically, because they. So let me see how they say that. Because that basically mean this is called the secondary defilements, or Chinese called 随烦恼. Because the rest of these, because they are still, how to say, they are still. Let me how to say translate here. Let me. It's very. It's included under the aggregates of the conditions, or under the aggregate of formation. 就形印所示, is because under the included under the aggregate of the formation. So and they are is a kind of unwholesome thing, right? And then they are actually associated with the proclivity, or the klesa we mentioned, the proclivity. Remember the word proclivity and then the klesa means the defilements are the same. Okay, so they are because they are associated to these defilements. So that's why it called the secondary defilements. When you look at the list of it, so you do find that those are the lists are not in the defilements list. That's why it's called secondary defilements. Understand? So they are, according to the actually, and in later on Yogacara school, or even Sarvastivada school. So these kind of secondary defilements been listed. Remember, I give you another chart. So this is listed as the so-called called parita, called the parita defilements. Mean 小水烦恼 in Chinese. It's called the small defilements. Okay. But the reason why they call them as they also understand why it's called secondary defilements, because they are not a primary, of course. And then they are the one are smaller if you compare to the defilements or the progressivity, they are the same term. So that's why it's called secondary. They are smaller means they have reason to talk about later on. Generally means when you look at the list, you have this kind of like what is the list now? Started to anyone find. Well, 4.5 for 31.1, okay? In other words, anyone is with the 31, 4.5.31.1, okay? And then when you look at the list, they are something like a deceptiveness, you know, and then something with the pride, because they're proud of themselves, like they're rich, they're beautiful, and so on, like that. And then they are harmfulness. So generally, this. If you look at later on when you study these, the either Yogacara school or even Sarasvati, like Abhidharmavatara, this kind of list arises usually if you don't have samadhi. So this can happen. But when you have a samadhi, this thing completely will just be subdued. Okay. But the other, don't forget, the defilements of procreativity, even you have samadhi, is still there. Okay. You get it now. So that's a main difference.
When you're out of samadhi,
no, when your samadhi is still there, it's
even
hidden.
in the samadhi,
Yeah, it's hidden. It's hidden. But no, it's still there. Yeah.
Okay.
In other words, I mean, let's say the one that's like the 4.5.31.4, the now, depraved opinionlessness, the now. So and then the hun, amity, right? The amity. When you look at the list, there's one called amity, right? So in the 4.5.31.5, right? So those when you don't have samadhi arise, but when you have samadhi, definitely this does not arise. But then when you have samadhi, you might be still hidden. There's anger there. Okay.
But when you're samadhi, it's not wavering, right? It's just one object there. So it's just, like.
Yeah, that's why it called is anushaya, is because it's hidden. And that's why it's called defilement. They are the same. But this is why it's called secondary defilement, because it arises based on that. If the proclivity, say the anger was completely cut off, then of course the number 4 called is the depraved opinionatedness, pradasa, okay, or this amity would not be arise at all, right?
That's why when we're on a meditation retreat, everything seems great, and we go home and not so great anymore.
Yes, because the samadhi is gone. You're right. Actually, when you retreat, you do find the people don't have, if they have samadhi experienced, this supposed to be here altogether 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, there are more than that. Or usually we count as 16. Okay, I don't want to change the time now. Just leave it now. So here they say and so on. There's 16. But normally in Yogacara school says 10 or anyway, there's a list of these is not arised. Like the amity will gone and all this sort of thing. All right. And then what about, we just move on first because I think the understanding of what does it mean by deceptness, like deluding the other, like when people have samadhi, they don't want to cheating the other. They don't want to pretend, oh, I'm great, I'm what, right? And the same thing then, the pride. The pride means they may be proud of themselves because they are rich, because they are beautiful and so. And then the harmfulness, I don't have to say to harm the other. And the number 4 one is called depraved opinionlessness. Generally means that stubborn. And then kind of like stubborn. And then you always don't want to listen to the teachings, It's very clear when you see the people like that, their mind is not very stable, not having a samadhi. And then amity, and then the number 35 is dissimulation, So dissimulation means when you say, did you do this wrong thing? No, I didn't do this wrong thing. He will not admit it, okay?
It's called lying.
It's not lying, dissimulation. It's Han in Chinese, no. So the mind is crooked mind. It's very, so, and then, anyway, those are, we have to understand, so far we listed 6 here and so on, but he didn't say only 6 and so on. In other school, usually listed 16. So, and then they are the, based on the earliest defilements arised. Okay. Now we move the other one that there are 10 envelopments. Why they call envelopments? Because like a Chan, in Chinese called Chan or Chan Zhu Chan, because it's always entangled. You something we translate entangle also. It always been entangled with the defilements. Okay, and there are 10. So it's very common also these 10. Like what are these? Like when you do meditation, you always have this, like a turbo, like a drowsiness, right? Restlessness, remorse. Those are the, when you do meditation, you need to struggle. You have to put that away. And then also the jealousy, immodesty, and the stinginess. I forgot to translate stinginess there. There's no mastery. I mean, stinginess, and then a shamelessness and anger, and then also concealment. You don't want to let the people know you are not good, like concealment. There are people who are like that. When you practice, we know very well, but we just don't say it. So people don't want to, just want to hide it, right? So are those things. So that's why this is called the body yudana. Sometimes people believe that this is when you are good in virtue, you can be put that away. In other words, when you do meditation, actually those are the 10 things you need to learn how to put that away. So that you can really, if you remember these 10 things, the drowsiness, sleepiness, like regret and all this, and then hide something not good to yourself, and then if you can put that away, so your virtue is good. Because that's believed that if you have a good virtue, people, these 10 things should be put aside already. So that's how the tradition understand the body yudana means the chan, the envelopment. Something we translate as entanglement. The entanglement can be cast away when you have a good virtue. Yes, you have a question? Yeah.
Yes, I'm just wondering how a person, I don't know if you heard the news recently, a 16-year-old boy set up fire because he was bored, and people died as a result of the fire. Then when he came out on the news, he's smiling, like there is no remorse, there is no feeling there, no understanding or some sort of retardation, maybe. Crookedness of the mind.
Yeah.
So is that what we could say that is?
Yeah, sure. Because so when the people don't have the morality, right? I mean, then according to Buddhism, when there's no morality, you can see this 10 thing will be there already. And then when the people never have really the focused mind, like a samadhi, a good samadhi means here refer to people who really develop the good mind and let this kind of good mind stay for a long time. And then another type of 6 things they will be there. So that kind of persons always have all these side defilement with them. They will not have this kind of shameless. They will not have a kind of like a crooked mind there. They also want to conceal themselves, right? All this they will conceal. They don't want to let people know actually he's bad or whatever. No, and he pretends something else.
But can that be overcome with practice?
Yes, that's certainly to Buddhism. If the people practice samadhi already, because they was first to see when they have a samadhi, and usually when the people have a sila, mean that they have a virtue, this 10 things should be put away. I'm talking about the sila means that the really, really working on it. And then these people do not have like, especially when I want to say they feel shame and shy, right? So there's hiri ottappa, and then also let's say the anger, those things they have to be the kind of really strong anger, because they know it's not used good for their virtue, right? So put that aside, and the how to say concealedness also put away. But if you have samadhi, then you put away this what we call this, just now we mentioned this called the secondary defilements. But then of course ultimately you need to have the vipassana or the wisdom to cast away the 10. Altogether is 98, but then in general means the 10 kind of the defilements or the 10 proclivity, because they are the root of all the defilements, right? Let me just go to the list first, and then we can discuss if there's a time in the future. So, and then the number 7 list, do I have? Number 6 is called outflows. Low is a very popular one. because it's always mentioned in Buddhist texts as well, especially in Abhidharma. So, and then the low, there are three types of the low, I mean the outflows, okay? Usually
Where are you now?
I don't know where I am, but I give you the paper. We have the paper in the paper.
4534.
I have to check. I forgot to mention here, but 4534. Very good. Thank you so much. So, and then there are three kinds of the outflows, right? So, okay.
Oh, yeah. Asavas?
Yeah, Asrava.
Oh, that's
So, yeah.
Sanskrit. I don't know Sanskrit. Excuse me.
So, and outflows, okay. So anyway, generally mean the outflow is the sensual outflow, and then is the existent outflow and the ignorance outflow, okay. So, but that also, these three kind of outflow, if you really look at the list, so all because of the sensual pleasure outflow create these other problems, you know, and also existent outflow. But general outflow means because of these three kind of outflow there, so it like it will just flow out from our six senses, okay, and then it become defilements. So, in other words, mean it's why they call outflow. Sometimes we translate as inflow, so, but usually we translate outflow because then when they have these kind of defilements, they are the six senses. You know what is six senses, right? The eyes, the ears, up to the mind. It just like will flow. Like if you look at you know, in tradition, when you look at the dependent arisings, the six senses sometimes represent as like six windows. It will flow out from the windows. That's why I call outflows. Okay. Now know the list, because in the future when you look at Buddhist texts, you will find that in a different context in Buddhism we use this defilement's name and use that defilement's name. In the future, you will notice there's a reason why they use those names but not the other names. Okay. Okay. Number 7 is called the four floods. It's also very popular. Okay. So there are four floods, and then the flood of the sensual flood, existent flood, and the will flood and ignorance flood also. Okay. Besides that, we also have these four kinds of yoke. Also, actually, the yoke and the flood are the same. Okay. So, and then there are four kinds of clinging. Remember, this is also you find in the Buddhist text always. So, sensual clinging, will clinging, clinging to the obstination and vows. That means that's what we talk about a lot, about the precepts, and then the soul theory clinging. You're clinging to the soul theory. That's the soul. Okay. Okay, and then number 10, and there's a four kind of bodily types. So the bodily, so you could find that 4.5.38. Okay. So from 38, you can find 4.538. So there are four kind of bodily types. So the bodily type of covetousness, the bodily types of malice, okay, I mean the anger, the bodily types of irrational adherence, and the body types of the actually basically the abstination and vows, the same thing again. So, and I think beside these types, and then the last one is that what is a very popular one. That's 4.5.39. Okay, that means there are 5 kinds of hindrances. So I'm sure you know this. For those who study meditation, know the hindrances, the sensual pleasure, the malice, and then the turbo drowsiness, restlessness, remorse, and then the doubt hindrances. Okay, actually those all are the defilements. So Abhidharma in Sarvastivada try to include all these Abhidharma, but of course if you want to study detail, they do have a reason why sometimes you have to put this name and that name. Okay, and then we explain this few important thing already. That's fundamental defilements there, and then there are secondary defilements there. And then there's a defilement which is not in the list of the fundamental defilements, but they are like the one we call the parayutana, this envelopment. So, and then those are the defilements which actually are mostly you can see in daily life. But if the people have a good morality, this should not be there, right? And some of the defilements been understood that only when you have a samadhi that you will be able to see these defilements should be, how to say, when you're only in your samadhi, this defilement will not appear. But you feel the beautiful, more advanced, better persons, you can see. But then, of course, the ultimate defilements, the last few things we are talking about, like this, the the clinging to the body, or what we call this, let me see the name, it's called yuk, means biting you or flood. Those actually are kind of like a fundamental defilements, because we can be clinging to the existence, and we still are clinging to craving. We're still bound to clinging. We're still bound to be upholding what is good for my body and what is not good for my body, and our identity. That's I, how I can be what. And then those are the fundamental. Another one is that the existence, right? I just mentioned, and the other one I want to say is that the atva, this I. So you can see those are the fundamental. But among these fundamental, you also see the one that Saraswativada always like to mention, the most fundamental, because all these fundamental you can include it, or being borrow it, included into another fundamental called the defilements, right? Fanao, or you call the sui fanao, it's called the procreativity. Okay, understand that? But maybe another question you will ask, then why there are so many different names, so many different lists? Because these so many different names and so many different lists are mentioned in the Buddhist text. Now, Abhidharma, Saraswativada Abhidharma, borrow just how to take out all these lists into a systematical study. Okay, so and then so that's why I say once you learn this way, in the future when you read the Agama text, just Ahanjin or the Nikaya, so you find this list name is there, and then you somehow not necessarily have to think like a Saraswativada, but at least you have a better judgment, like, oh, this call this name here, and oh, that call that name here, and you have a bigger scale understanding of the list. Okay. So the next class will be about we have to move to the next thing, which is we forgot about the defilement at the moment, and then we had to move to finish. Let me see. Do we have to say about 4.5, the sphere and planet existence? Yeah, and we would just have to read through the existence, because I don't think it's very difficult, but we have to go through it. Like how many planets Buddhism believe, heavens, and so on. So what is the universe? And then we come to this, actually we are not. We come to this, the knowledge, okay? It's one of the difficult ones, okay? Knowledge. So please, when you go back, read until page 100. That means from this 4.5 x.1, right? X.1, that's x, I don't know. Yeah. So page 100, up to, you have to read it up to this, I think it's very hard, but up to this 108. Page 108. Okay.
When is the next class? Next week there's no class, right?
No.
Because we have the retreat. We'll see on Friday.
No, we have, not next week, after next week, right? Yeah. And then anyway, next week we have a meditation retreat, Yeah, that's after next week.
I'm gonna test you next time.
And so don't worry anyway. Next time whenever the class, we just revise what we talk a little bit, what we have what we talk. Okay? And the next week, I think that after next week class will be more like the existence of planet. But the knowledge one is very tricky.
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
It is always tricky, is fun. All right, so, and if you do have a time to join the retreat, if you can,
See you on Friday.
Yeah, and then, that's it for now, and I will see you, if not, I will see you after next week. Okay? So.
愿此上课功德普济于一切，我等于众生皆共成佛道。
Sa du, sa du, sa du. So, yeah.
One or two, teacher.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Good, so, yeah.